Let's talk Tanya for the third day of the first Adar. In yesterday's Tanya, we started talking about feelings of shame and frustration over our character flaws. And Alter Rebbe said we should view our character flaws as mitzvah opportunities. Now today the Alter Rebbe is going to move on. The Alter Rebbe is going to go a little deeper. And the Alter Rebbe is going to ask a question: where does this frustration even come from? And the big idea the Alter Rebbe is going to introduce today is that whenever we're feeling frustrated, frustration is always a result of unmet expectations. And therefore, if a person has unrealistic expectations, they're setting themselves up for frustration. And understanding that a certain expectation isn't realistic, then you're not frustrated by it. So, for example, did you ever imagine what it would be like to have, instead of 2 arms, having 3 arms? How convenient would that be? You'd be able to hold your cup of coffee in one hand, and then you'd be able to be scrolling your Twitter and your phone on the other hand. And then if you have an itch in your nose and you want to scratch it, you don't have to put on not your coffee and not your phone. You have your third arm. How convenient would it be? Imagine you're cooking. You have one arm to stir the pot, another arm to go and get the salt, another arm for whatever may be, to hold the baby. But none of us are frustrated by the fact that we don't have 3 arms, because it's not an expectation. No one has 3 arms. By the way, if everyone had 3 arms and you, poor you, only had 2 arms, you'd be frustrated by it, because then you'd have that expectation. And that's true in every area of life. When a person is frustrated by the fact that they have character flaws, let's examine that frustration. What is the expectation behind that frustration? The expectation is that I shouldn't have character flaws. Now let's put that in Hebrew words. What does that mean? That means I'm expecting to be a tzaddik, because a tzaddik is the one who doesn't struggle. The rest of us, we're beinanis. A beinani is someone who struggles, and that is who they are. That is what they're created. They're created to struggle against their animal soul. So when you are frustrated by your character defect, essentially that's arrogance and somewhat delusional. You're like, oh, I should be a tzaddik. You should be a tzaddik. I should be a tzaddik. That's not our goal. What is a realistic expectation? As we discussed earlier on in chapter 14, what is a realistic expectation? A realistic expectation is that I shouldn't be a rasha, that in thought, speech, and action, I should do the right thing. And once we set our expectations right and we know who we are and what our ceiling is, then the fact that we have character flaws won't frustrate us, because we understand that's simply who we are and we make peace with it. That's nice. But can we really make peace with it? In order to really be able to make peace with our struggles, we need to find some sort of meaning in the struggle. Why exactly are we struggling? Are we accomplishing anything with our struggle? And the answer to these questions will come, God willing, in tomorrow's Let's Talk Tanya.